This wildlife series is not only about the famous lion coalitions of Swaziland, it's also about the lion prides and their pride males who came and changed their lives forever. I want to dive into the history of some of the prides who got affected by the comings and goings of several coalitions over the last 20 years. In this first episode, I'm going back to the year 2000 and I'm going to introduce you to one of the biggest prides at the time, the Sparta Pride. But before we go there, I want to share with you some common misconceptions about lions. One of these would be that hunting is the job of the lionesses. This really couldn't be farther from the truth, because a male lion is built to bring down big prey. They are exceptionally good hunters and they prefer to hunt buffalo, giraffe, zebra and big antelopes. The truth is, most lion prides rely on the strength of the male to bring down a buffalo. With their extra weight and power, they contribute to the success of the hunt. Male lions spend a lot of time away from the pride patrolling their territory, and during this time they have to hunt for themselves. This only changes when males getting injured or too old, and by that I mean getting too weak to bring down big prey alone. In that case, an older male won't hesitate to make a deal with the pride. He offers protection in exchange of food. Another misconception is that lionesses stay with the pride they were born into. In fact, there are countless reasons for that to be not exactly true. Lion prides split up more often than you think. One reason for that are interlopers, and another reason is the size of the pride. Permanent splits are very common and most of them happen during takeovers. The biggest threat for the cubs are marauding males. More than 50% of them fall victim to infanticide. The first line of defense, though, are the dominant males. If they get killed or chased out, the pride has no option but to run with their cubs. In the meantime, the lionesses that have no cubs try to keep the intruders busy and away from the pride. Usually it's a false estrus and they don't get pregnant, but if they do, they raise their cubs away from the pride, which could lead to a permanent split. In documentaries, you will often hear that a lioness that gave birth is hiding her cubs for months until she is ready to introduce them to their fathers and the rest of the pride. While the cubs are tucked away, she often needs to leave them to go out hunting or to link up with her pride when they are nearby. She then returns to her cubs to nurse them, and every other day she moves the den side to keep them safe from other predators. Contrary to what documentaries made us believe, male lions are well aware when a lioness gave birth, and they are quick on their feet to inspect their offspring. I was fortunate enough to witness when a male lion came to visit the den site only hours after the lioness had given birth. And he even stayed and stood guard when the lioness went out hunting. So it's safe to say they spend a good amount of time with their cubs even before the cubs meet their relatives from the pride. In many documentaries it's implied that scavenging is a hyena thing. Well, just in case you didn't know, lions scavenge just as much. Every free meal, whether stumbled on or stolen, is a good meal, and even carcasses that are days old won't be rejected. Amongst the predators, it's a common thing to steal. Lions steal from lions, hyenas and leopards, and given the chance, the other way around. Hyenas, though, perfection the art of stealing. This doesn't make them bad, it just makes them smarter. In the bush the numbers matter, and the hyenas use this in a smart way to overpower the lions. If lions sniff out a carcass, they go the extra mile to get to it. And if needed, they can climb up just about any tree, even if that looks a bit clumsy. The descent, however, is another story and looks a bit undignified compared to a leopard. The last misconception I want to mention today is that lions are lazy. Yes, they sleep up to 20 hours a day. It might look lazy to us, but it's just energy efficient. Because they are carnivores, the ability to build up a fat deficit is 0 to none. Their body structure is pure bone and muscle, and their metabolism is incredibly fast. And the only way to slow it down is by resting, preferably in the heat of the day. However, if the opportunity arises to make a kill in daytime, they won't hesitate to go just about after any prey. As soon as it gets dark though, they get active, and they can move up to 10 kilometers a night. And males on patrol can easily double that distance. Now let's get to the main characters of this story, the lionesses of the Sparta Pride and their 5 pride males who were called the Weststreet males. Their home was Mala Mala in the Sabi Sand Game Reserve, which borders the Kruger National Park. Back in 2000, the Sparta Pride was the biggest pride in Sabi Sand. The 7 lionesses held a territory which covered most of Mala Mala. 2 of the Weststreet males became very old. They died in 2004 at the age of 14, and some even say at the age of 16. In their younger years, they were a powerful coalition of 5 males, dominant over many lion prides. They were not only the fathers of the Mapogo, but also the fathers of the 5 Rollercoaster males, and one of them was most likely the father of Makulu, who later became the leader of the Mapogo. Makulu joined up with the Sparta Pride in mid-2000 when he was just under 2 years old. He was not welcomed by the lionesses, especially since 2 of them gave birth shortly after his arrival. Strangely enough, the Weststreet males did not kill him, nor did they chase him out. As age caught up with them, Makulu played a big part in prolonging their reign over the Sparta Pride. When Rasta, Pretty Boy and Scar were born by the end of 2000, none of the rangers expected them to live long enough until the cubs would reach independence. The first of the Weststreet males died in November 2000 after a fight with the neighboring Split Rock males, and one of his brothers followed him shortly after in mid-2001. Rasta and Pretty Boy were littermates, and they were born in December 2000. Just a couple of months later, another lioness gave birth, and the male cub of this litter was later named Scar, aka Dreadlocks. The future of these little cubs looked bleak. The 3 old Weststreet males faced a lot of pressure from the Split Rock males, Tyson and Scar, and even their own sons, the 5 Rollercoaster males, had come of age and tried to challenge their fathers. Both of the aforementioned coalitions mated with the Sparta lionesses in 2001, which led rangers to believe that one of them could also be the fathers of Mr. T and Kinky Tail. They were born when their older cousins were almost subadults. Due to the age difference, their mothers chose to raise them apart from the pride. By that time, Makulu had been accepted by the lionesses and became a member of the Pride. He spent a lot of time with the subadults and proved his worth by taking part in the hunt. Makulu and the three older Mapogo, Rasta, Pretty Boy and Scar, formed a strong bond that lasted for life. The two youngest, Mr. T and Kinky Tail, bonded as well. They grew up together and they became inseparable. In 2002, the Sparta Pride had lost some members. 2 of the older lionesses died, and 2 of the subadults had been killed in an attack by the old golf course males. Luckily, Rasta, Pretty Boy and Scar survived the encounter. In January 2003, sickness and age catched up with the 3rd Weststreet male, and that's when Makulu became a true asset to the Pride. He was the one who helped the lionesses to bring down big prey, and even when he started to mate with them, the 2 old Pride males didn't mind. When the last 2 Weststreet males died in August 2004, Makulu inherited the keys to the kingdom. Makulu was 6 years old now and entered his prime, and with the Weststreet males gone, the Pride dynamics changed. Mr. T and Kinky Tail had also grown up to subadults, and it was time to meet their older cousins. It didn't take long until the Split Rock males noticed that their rivals were gone, and they started to put pressure on the Sparta Pride. As a consequence, Makulu explored the south with only the older Sparta males by his side. Their journey lasted a couple of months, and during that time they had several encounters with the Rollercoaster and the Split Rock males. A takeover was in the making, but Makulu and the 5 young Mapogos were standing in their way. Even under rage, a coalition of 6 young males are a force to be reckoned with. In the bush, numbers matter, and that prevented the Split Rocks from completely taking over the Sparta Pride. Makulu was a smart lion. He knew he wouldn't have a chance with 5 unexperienced youngsters claiming this territory for himself. Even though the Mapogo didn't behave like territorial males, they had absolutely no reason to leave their mother's land. They stayed for the entirety of 2005 and tested their strength with 4 young males from the south. They clashed with the Southern Pride and their 4 young males on more than one occasion. The first reported victim of the Mapogo was a young subadult male from the Southern Pride, who was killed in August 2005 west of Toulon. His 2 surviving brothers later became the golf course males. Most young males die in their nomadic life. The risk to get killed by other males is high, and they are not sufficient hunters yet to sustain their big bodies. Makulu's strategy was to turn them into good hunters and to build up their confidence and strength. He was a father figure for them. He became their mentor and their leader. Makulu played a big part in their survival, and more so, he kept them together. Under Makulu's leadership, they had turned into excellent hunters. They kill giraffe, buffalo, hippos, and even young rhinos. Especially Mr. T and Kinky Tail were eager to get a front row seat. Their hunting success paid off. They grew into big, strong, and confident lions. In early 2006, they were ready to leave Mala Mala and test the waters in the West. In the next episode, you will learn how they conquered their first territory and how they changed the line dynamics in Sabi Sand forever.